A positive AIDS test apparently ends the basketball career of LA Lakers star Magic Johnson. Catherine Cryer is off today. I'm Frank Sesno. This is The World Today. His name says it all, Magic Johnson, and he was certainly magic on the basketball court. The LA Lakers star kept basketball fans entertained for 12 seasons with his basketball sleight of hand and his trademark smile. Now that brilliant career is apparently being cut short. There is expected to be an announcement any time now that Magic Johnson has tested positive for the AIDS virus. This is the room in Inglewood, California, where the news conference is expected to take place shortly. And we'll bring you that news conference as soon as it happens. Mike Kalman is standing by there now live. Mike, what do you know?
Well, we're in the Forum Club at the Great Western Forum. This is the home of the Lakers, and as you can see, it is packed wall to wall and out into the hall with members of the media. In fact, they just came in a short time ago and made an announcement that all non-media members must leave, so that cleared out a few people. The press conference set to get way momentarily. This news has rocked Southern California today. Reports earlier in the day that Magic Johnson would be having a press conference at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Los Angeles local time, and that the news from that conference would be that Magic has tested HIV positive, that he'll be announcing his retirement this afternoon. Magic's been out of the Lakers lineup since almost the end of the preseason. He was sent back from Salt Lake City at the Lakers' final preseason game with what was called an unspecified illness. He's missed the first 3 regular season games with the Lakers, and a couple days after he got back from Utah, the Lakers reported that it was flu. He was suffering flu symptoms, dehydration, weakness. He was given the okay to practice earlier this week. On Monday, he went back to practice, complained of problems with his stamina, just that he was weak. Some reference was made to that he might be losing some weight, but he hadn't checked it, he said, because he was afraid to find out how much weight he had lost. The other night he sat on the bench in his warm-ups as the Lakers hosted the Clippers here. There's been a lot of speculation surrounding his absence from the team. And early this morning, word started to get out that there'd be a press conference this afternoon, and here we are waiting.
Mike, we'd like to ask you to stand by, but our Jim Huber is with us as well in the studio in Atlanta. And Jim, I'm wondering if we could turn to you now while we wait for this to talk a little bit about Magic Johnson, what he represented and what he accomplished in his 12 years in the NBA.
Frank, his accomplishments were enormous. He was not only an extremely talented young man and an electric personality, but he was a champion as well. He brought the Los Angeles Lakers some 5 championships in the decade of the 80s. He did everything that was asked of him and so much more. So many athletes come into the NBA and they look good, they play well, they are responsive, they draw great crowds, but they don't produce what they're paid to produce, and that's titles. And Magic Johnson certainly did that from his times at Michigan State when they won the NCAA title to the 5 titles that the Lakers won over the years there. He did so much more than that. He was responsible for raising some $5 million over the years in his summer All-Star basketball games for the United Negro College Fund. He was influential in the community. He was an idol for all of the kids growing up who watched him and said that if that young man can, so can I. He just gave so much to the game. The game was in a bit of a disarray when Magic Johnson and Larry Bird came out of college in 1979, and they are both being credited over the years with having turned the NBA into a very, very successful and viable operation right now. Frank?
Jim Huber and Mike Kalman will come back to you, and we will come back to this news conference live when it happens. We are expecting it any time now. Once again, the announcement expected to be that Magic Johnson is ending his 12-year career in the NBA because of the AIDS virus. Now we'll move on to some other news that we have for you. In the meantime, abortion. It has been a hot-button issue for years now, with emotional and often graphic confrontations in Congress, in the streets, and in the courts. The issue, of course, being abortion, and now abortion rights groups are hoping to make it a red-hot political issue in the coming election year. Their battleground, the Supreme Court itself. Our story now from CNN's Anthony Collins.
Abortion rights activists are pushing for an early showdown on whether the Supreme Court still believes women have a fundamental right to abortion. A coalition of civil rights and women's rights groups filed a petition asking the increasingly conservative court point blank, is it going to overturn Roe versus Wade?
For thousands of women across the nation, the Supreme Court's failure to clearly reaffirm Roe versus Wade has fostered a steady erosion of their liberties. We therefore call upon the Supreme Court to settle this question once and for all.
The coalition asked the High Court to review a recent appeals court ruling that upheld a law passed by the Pennsylvania state legislature restricting abortion. The law imposes a 24-hour waiting period, requires a doctor to inform a woman about fetal development and about abortion alternatives, and requires parental consent for minors. But in making its appeal, the abortion rights advocates went beyond the immediate Pennsylvania law. The petition asked the court to answer the ultimate question: has the Supreme Court overruled Roe versus Wade? Legal experts said while the court does not necessarily have to agree that that is the question, it could well use the Pennsylvania case for a landmark ruling.
I think the votes are there to overturn the widest reading of Roe and Wade, that is, that it treats abortion as a fundamental right.
Of the 9 justices, only 2, John Paul Stevens and Harry Blackmun, who wrote Roe, are considered sure votes to uphold it.
We will fight back! We will fight back!
The abortion rights advocates say they expect this court to overturn Roe, and if so, they want to use this as a political issue against the president and others who oppose Roe.
President Bush, you are responsible for the costly and divisive battle that lies ahead.
Some political analysts see a problem for Mr. Bush.
This is a passionate issue in America, as we have learned. It divides the population. You never know exactly how it's going to come out. So if you're way ahead, you don't want new circumstances making everything more turbulent.
Although they probably would never admit it, any conservatives on the court who want to help the president could well schedule arguments on the case next October. That way, they would not have to rule on the abortion issue until after the election. Anthony Collins, CNN, at the Supreme Court.
Congress, meanwhile, has sent President Bush legislation that overturns a ban on federally financed abortion counseling, provoking an expected veto showdown. The Senate voted Thursday 72-25 for a measure blocking the so-called gag rule on abortion counseling. The Senate vote was 5 more than would be needed to override an expected veto by President Bush. But when the House voted on this same issue Wednesday, it fell short of the 2/3 majority needed to override a veto. The measure is attached to a $205 billion funding bill for health, education, and labor programs. Abortion rights activists are already making plans to get around the law if Roe versus Wade is overturned and abortion is made illegal again. From California now, CNN's Greg Lefebvre reports.
Borrowing an idea from the last century when abolitionists thought slavery was wrong, abortion advocates now anticipate reestablishing an underground railway because they believe abortion is right.
We want to make an incredibly difficult situation somewhat less difficult by having, if you will, a package deal.
Saying that they expect the worst from the conservative U.S. Supreme Court, Planned Parenthood believes some clients will turn to abortion tours, to so-called abortion havens, safe states where abortion is likely to stay legal. Packages would probably include airfare, lodging, counseling, and the abortion itself. Cost for the package, $500 to $1,000. Opponents label it abortion tourism.
They are very pro-abortion. They're not just pro this choice. And this is a very, very aggressive way of making abortion available to women.
Abortion opponents say they do not expect the battle to end with a Supreme Court ruling, even if that decision outlaws abortion.
People could still go to Canada, could still go to Mexico. We're never going to be able to save all unborn children through the law, any more than passing rape laws saves all women from being raped. But you decrease the number, you create disincentives for the discrimination and violence of abortion.
The term abortion tourism has been used. We feel that that trivializes a very crucial event in a woman's life, and we prefer abortion sanctuary for the concept.
This is CNN Breaking News.
And now we take you to Inglewood, California, and Magic Johnson in this news conference we've been talking about throughout the day, where he is expected to announce his retirement from professional basketball because he has apparently tested positive for the AIDS virus. We take you then to Inglewood, California, and Magic Johnson.
First of all, let me say good after late afternoon. Because of the HIV virus that I have attained, I will have to retire from the Lakers today. I just want to make clear, first of all, that I do not have the AIDS disease, because I know a lot of you want to know that, but the HIV virus. My wife is fine. She's negative, so no problem with her. I plan on going on, living for a long time, bugging you guys like I've always have. So you'll see me around. I plan on being with the Lakers in the league. Hopefully David will have me for a while. And going on with my life. And I guess now I get to enjoy some of the other sides of living that because of the season and the long practices and so on. I just want to say that I'm going to miss playing, and I will now become a spokesman for the HIV virus, because I want people and young people to realize that they can practice safe sex. And, you know, sometimes you're a little naive about it and you think it could never happen to you. You only thought it could happen to, you know, other people and so on and on. And it has happened, but I'm going to deal with it, and my life will go on. And I will be here enjoying the Laker games and all the other NBA games around the country. So life is going to go on for me, and I'm going to be a happy man. Now, medical questions that you have to direct them to Dr. Melman, and he can answer all those questions for you. Anything concerning the Lakers and so on, we have Jerry West here, I'm sure. Of course, the league, you have our commissioner, who I want to thank. I want to thank everybody up here, as well as my teammates, because they've been behind me all the way. I want to thank Kareem for coming out, him and Coop, who we stood side by side and won a lot of battles. Larry Drew, another good friend of mine who I played with. But the commissioner, David Stern, has been great in supporting me, and I will go on and hopefully work with the league and help in any way that I can. I want to thank also Jerry West for all he's done, Dr. Curlin, Dr. Melman, who he'll tell you who my other doctors are that have helped me through this, as well as, like I said, my father, in a sense, Dr. Jerry Buss, for, you know, just drafting me and me being here. Now, of course, I will miss the battles and the wars, and I will miss you guys, but life goes on. Now, any other questions medical-wise, you can ask, like I said, Dr. Melman, anything with the Lakers, Jerry West, or anything with the league. If I take a few questions about myself and my plans.
Can you describe for us, this has been your life, Michigan State, the Lakers. Emotionally for you right now, knowing that this part of your life is over, how do you deal with it, and how do you deal with mortality, which becomes more apparent with this virus?
Well, I think mortality is I always wanted to be, after it was over, just live a normal life anyway. And, you know, now my life will change, no question about it, but I think I'll still be a part of the game with working with the Lakers, working with the league, and as I do that, then I hopefully still own a team. Basketball will still be a part of my life. I told Coop and Kareem, both of them, a while ago, that I'll be calling them to play them one-on-one, and we'll have some fun that way. I just won't be a part of the Lakers.
Can you give us a special message over your biggest fans, the kids?
Well, no question. For the kids, that's why I am going to be a spokesman for this HIV virus, because I want them to understand that safe sex is the way to go. I think sometimes we think, well, only gay people can get it, only, well, it's not going to happen to me. And here I am saying that it can happen to anybody, even me, Magic Johnson, it can happen to. So, yes, I will be going out telling them. I'll be speaking more to a lot of groups around the country about this.
When did you know? When did you know?
Well, Wednesday, so that's yesterday.
Can't you give me an idea on how you acquired the virus?
No, we'll get into that medically through the doctors, okay?
How do you feel physically right now?
I feel really good. I feel great. A part of my life is gone, but my wife is healthy. That's great. and we're going to go on.
What are your immediate plans? You going to stay with the Lakers?
We're going to talk about that. Dr. Buster said if I want to stay, I can stay. I'll talk to Commissioner Stern here, and hopefully I'll be with the league too. But those plans I don't know right now. It's going to take some time, just see which way I want to go. I will be still pursuing my dream of owning a team, that's for sure. And,
when did you take the test that are all NBA players supposed to take?
Well, I took the test only because of a life insurance policy, and that's what happened. And they kind of thought something was wrong. They didn't know quite what it was, so that's why we've been going through all these tests. And then finally yesterday, I can't remember the exact date, but it's been...
This was looked at before because you talked about having the flu and all the other tests that you
Right. They didn't find anything as far as anything in terms of the flu or anything wrong, but they just kept testing, you see. And
new life insurance policy.
right.
Have you had a chance to talk to your colleagues like Larry Bird?
Yeah, Larry called. I made sure that I called Larry, Michael, Isaiah, the guys who I'm close with, as well as my old teammates and my current teammates. And I talked to Coach Riley. A lot of people I've talked to already, just to let them know.
How do you affect the Hollywood or celebrity community and their response to AIDS?
Well, I think that everybody will be more careful. That's what I want to preach, and for everybody to understand that they just have to be more careful.
Do you have something to say to your fans?
Well, I'm going to miss them. I'm going to miss coming in at 5 o'clock. I'm going to miss saying hello to the security people when I first get there, then the ushers. Then I get to see most of you about 6 o'clock. Oh, man. Magic, what about this? What about that? What about the team? I'll miss that. I'll miss the battles and the wars. But most of all, what I'll miss is the camaraderie that I had with the guys, being one of the fellas.
Have you ever been tested before?
Well, we've been tested, and it was negative before, so, you know. But let me say this. My mom and dad is fine. They're very supportive. My whole family. Just like I want everybody to be. This is not like my life is over, because it's not. I'm going to live on. Everything is still the same. I can work out. Now, I just be like one of the old-timers in a sense,
What about the Olympics?
Yeah, my strength is fine. I can work out and do everything a normal person can do. I just have to, take medication and go from there. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes.
The human emotion, this is such a tough illness to deal with, or even virus. Are you scared right now?
No. If I was, what you have to do is just, it's another challenge, another chapter in my life that it's like being, your back is against the wall. And I think that you just have to come out swinging, and I'm swinging. Only thing I can do is have a bright side. If I slip, then it might be over. If I'm down, if it's out, I can't be like that. I never have been. That's why I'm telling you now, today. That's why I'm here right now. And that's why I'm going to be a spokesman for the virus, because I want other players to be tested, because I think they should, because a lot of people, if it hadn't been for that life insurance, I wouldn't have known. And just the everyday person, the same thing. And that's why I'm going to be a spokesman for it, because I think a lot of people should test themselves and know. Also practice safe sex, the whole thing. Now, I'm going to go and let the doctors or whoever else you want to have questions for. I've appreciated all of you. Mitch, we go way back. Jim, Stu Nahan, all the people that, when I first came in as a rookie, gave me all the good advice and helped me out, and I really appreciate that. Now you just have me on a different side now. You may be interviewing me in like Dr. Buss's office, so as soon as he move out, I'm going to move in. But I am going to go on, I'm going to beat it, and I'm going to have fun. Okay, so thank you again, and I'll see you soon.
Are there any questions for Dr. Melman?
Yes. Can you explain what exactly has happened to Johnson and how it affects his life?
Irvin Johnson has been infected with the HIV virus. He does not have AIDS. The HIV virus is something that over years can and does impair an individual's immune system, which is what we all have to defend against other illnesses. So there's no immediate effect on his life other than we have advised him to avoid those activities which can further impair his immune system, which is playing professional basketball. He is not, contrary to what has been stated, he is not and does not have AIDS.
Could he play in the Olympics, doctor?
The issue is very straightforward. Irvin Johnson has been infected with the AIDS virus. He is not ill in any way. ARC or ARC, which some people have heard of, is simply a continuum from the viral infection to illnesses that occur later on. He does not have that.
Doctor, how does HIV exacerbate the condition? Explain that.
Well, the rigors of playing professional basketball to include significant exhaustion on a regular basis, alterations of normal dietary and activity habits may impair an individual's immune system. And since this disease also does that, the medical judgment is for Irvin to not continue that. That is not normal activity that we describe in the everyday person. Very few of us go through what he goes through in the course of a basketball season, and that's the best I can say at this point.
What is the prognosis for complete recovery from this virus?
The timeline of AIDS virus infection to further problems is now being described. Some people last a decade or longer before they get ill. Some people get ill very quickly. We have Irvin at one point in time in a very healthy state. There is no way to give you a prognosis that is accurate at this point other than to say that he is healthy now, we expect him to remain healthy, and we expect to have him around for a long time.
Can't play in the Olympic Games, right?
That's up to him.
What is the medical?
The issue of treatment is being examined at this point. There are a number of people that will be involved that will help decide that, and I suspect that will be known in the future.
What type of medication?
That is treatment.
What type of medication is
There are a number of medications available that can be used to treat the AIDS virus infection. In fact, we have Dr. Hayes from UCLA at the far left, and I think she is more qualified to address those issues if you'd like. And Dr. Hayes, if you had something you'd like to say.
the type of medication?
Well, I have no knowledge of the kind of medication that Mr. Johnson is taking, but right at the present time in the treatment of HIV disease, the medications that we have are very important in prolonging life and making quality of life better. And at a stage when someone is HIV positive, at a certain stage, depending on other parameters that are measured, we can provide treatment that's helpful. I don't know enough about Mr. Johnson's clinical case because Dr. Melman is his physician, but so I don't know whether he will be taking any medication, but I can say for someone who's HIV positive, like Mr. Johnson, and there is a lot of options for treatment and help to prolong life.
Dr. Melman, has Magic authorized you to discuss how he contracted the disease?
No. Yeah, the answer is that I don't believe we know at this point specifically.
Dr. Melman, why was it released that he had the flu and obviously
He wasn't feeling well, and we were trying to investigate the situation. A lot of times in trying to define the medical status of an individual, we are not able to know by looking at them what is going on or what is the situation at hand. That delves more into his personal health, which I don't think is something that I'd like to discuss in a public forum.
Nick, in your cases of HIV that don't go into full-blown AIDS, right? I mean, people can live with it for a while, right?
Dr. Hayes?
That's absolutely right. There are cases of HIV that go for many, many years before developing the symptoms of AIDS, and we don't really know how many years any individual can go once they become HIV positive. That isn't known and one can't predict.
But eventually they do develop the symptoms.
We can't even say that because everyone who's HIV positive hasn't been followed long enough to know whether they eventually develop the symptoms, and we hope with the therapies that are available now, we may be able to very greatly prolong the development of those symptoms.
Is he on medication now?
He is not now on medication.
Have you considered ACT or DDI?
We will be discussing that with him in the future.
Could you speculate on the impact that somebody coming forward like Magic Johnson and saying he has HIV could have on the public perception of the disease?
I think what we have witnessed today is a courageous act by a very special man. He is not compelled by any legal descriptions or legal requirements to disclose what he has disclosed today. He is not a person who is invisible, and because of his presence, because of his potential impact on society, with a situation that is not only serious but for which we are all at risk, I think that he should not only be commended but held as a modern-day hero. And I hope that we, in our activities and the impact that it has on us, reflect that. This is a very, very special person and a very, very special admission.
I'd like to echo the doctor's statement on that. When Magic understood that he was HIV positive, this was something he very much wanted to do in terms of going public with it, because of all of the work he's done with kids, because of all of the work he's done with the community, and he asked for the support of his teammates, the Lakers, and the league. And I think what the doctor has said is true. Everybody said this is a very courageous, heroic person and a heroic act, and we all pledged our support to him in his effort to go out and work, especially amongst kids, in detailing, what has to be done and what precautions should be taken.
Dr. Melvin, where and when was the test administered, and where and when did you tell him that he was HIV?
I'd prefer not to comment on those issues.
You can't tell us when? It was yesterday that he found out? He said it was yesterday?
He's already described when he found out the final results, which was yesterday, and I think that's enough.
You can't tell us all the tests administered?
I have no further comments on that topic.
Can you tell me what this is going to mean to the NBA?
Really, I think what this means to the NBA is that another one of our really idols and attention getters has indicated that he's human. Something has happened to him which can happen to anybody. Everybody is at risk. And by invoking the NBA and his teammates and all players to deliver the messages that Magic is intent on delivering, I think that we can find something positive out of a very terrible situation.
Commissioner, do all teams test for AIDS, or would you like to see that?
No, Magic was tested in connection with an insurance policy. All matters of testing are a subject to be discussed between the NBA and its Players Association, and that's the way we deal with that, and that's the way we'll deal with this subject. But for today, the emphasis is on Irvin Johnson.
Dr. Melvin, was this discovered by the life insurance test or by the test you did in connection with the latest illness?
The initial concern was as a result of tests performed as part of a life insurance policy, and then further studies and confirmation were performed by myself and with Irvin's consent.
Okay, without being like, can you give us just a time frame of that? When was the first test come back from the insurance company?
I honestly don't know the date of that. I don't.
Roughly.
It's been over the last couple of weeks.
Dr. Melvin, that he was suffering from fatigue. What, could you tell us what the symptoms were? What complaints he may have had before the test?
I think in general he was just tired and not feeling well, and I don't want anyone to take away from that he is ill in any way, that it was not part of what we ultimately discovered. That was something coincidental.
Dr. Melvin, what impact will this have on his participation in the Olympics? Will that be discussed?
That was asked earlier. I think the issue is that Irvin Johnson has not been advised to play professional basketball, and I think that the level of competition and participation in the Olympics is similar to that. And so I think that those are parallel concerns and restrictions that we would offer.
As you are part of the announcement today, will you try to institute
That's something we'll discuss with our Players Association. All that we're worried about today is Magic Johnson and the support he's asked us to give him.
Jerry West, what does this mean for the Lakers roster?
Well, obviously, this comes as a huge shock to us. I think when you're trying to find out the condition of a player, obviously you assume that player is going to be back. And to be real candid with you, I haven't even thought about it. Obviously, it's devastating for us from a personnel standpoint. And I think particularly emotionally, for a lot of us, it's a very difficult thing.
Okay, everybody, thank you very much.
And so Magic Johnson's doctors and his coaches and those who know him adding their comments to this thing. The doctor pointing out very explicitly that Magic Johnson has the HIV virus but does not yet have or show symptoms of the disease, that he is healthy at this point. The doctor's also saying, however, that it is unknown as to exactly how long one can go in this day and age with the medications available before developing further complications. Still smiling, remarkably poised, and showing clearly that he is not at this time scared, Magic Johnson came forth himself to make this announcement, saying, "It has happened, but I'm going to deal with it, and my life will go on." Magic Johnson saying that he now intends to become a spokesman for the HIV condition and for safe sex, urging all those for whom he is an idol to recognize that this can happen to anybody. We will hear from Jim Huber and more on the life and times of Magic Johnson when The World Today continues.
Can a razor cut your beard off below the skin without the blades even touching your face? It can if it's a Norelco. Norelco's patented lift and cut system lifts the hair, so when it's cut, it can actually drop below skin level without the blades even touching your face. Are you getting a shave this incredibly close and exceptionally comfortable? You are when you shave with Norelco. Norelco, we make close comfortable.
GMAC just dropped its rate into low to help shift the economy out of neutral. With low 2.9% APR on 3 great newly styled 1992 full-size GM cars: Pontiac Bonneville, Oldsmobile 88 Royale, and Buick LeSabre. 2.9% up to 48 months lets you indulge in GM quality and help stimulate the economy. So get out of neutral. Drop into your participating GM dealer, get in gear with low 2.9% GMAC financing today.
I swim, I jog. I love junk food. Sometimes even I get constipation. When it happens to me, I take this little pill. It's X-Lax. Surprised?
More people choose X-Lax than any other laxative. Today's X-Lax gives you a choice. Extra gentle pills when you need a little help, regular pills when you need a little more. Today's X-Lax, for regular people who sometimes aren't.
As if we needed the painful reminder that the HIV virus can happen to anybody, Magic Johnson announcing just a short time ago that he is suffering from the HIV virus, that he will retire from professional basketball, become a spokesman for the cause and for the cause of safe sex, says Magic Johnson. My life is going to go on, and I will be a happy man. A characteristic introspective into Magic Johnson. And Jim Huber joins us now to tell us what Magic Johnson has been all about, both on and off the court. Jim.
He has been all about greatness, Frank, and so devastatingly and selfishly, to be sure, we must now give Magic Johnson back. For over a decade, he has not been just a showman, not just an entertainer, but a champion at every level, one of those rare athletes who has then transcended mere sport to take his place on a much higher plane.
If there was ever the perfect nickname for an athlete like Irvin Johnson, it was Magic, for he was that and just so much more. From his days in the 70s as an undergraduate at Michigan State, where he led the Spartans to the national championship, to just a month ago when he stunned Paris in an exhibition game with the Lakers, he produced from up an imaginary sleeve absolute brilliance. And because of that, he had an immediate impact on the NBA. He and Larry Bird came into the league on the very same day in 1979 and are generally credited with being the architects of the NBA's great rebirth. For openers, that a man 6'9" could play point guard was unthinkable, and play it with the kind of zest that Magic Johnson nightly displayed took that a step farther into incredulity. With that dazzling smile of his, he would cut down the lane, put opponents on their seats, and pull fans off theirs. And from opening day a dozen years ago, basketball was never again to be the same. His Los Angeles Lakers won the NBA championship his rookie year, and they won 4 more in the decade to follow. He was the league's most valuable player in 1987, 89, and 90, All-NBA every season from 83 on, the all-time NBA assists leader. He had not played in any of the Lakers' first 3 games of this season, suffering from what the team called dehydration from the flu, which he reportedly picked up while in Paris on that preseason tour. Irvin Johnson, NCAA champion, 5-time NBA champion, but just magic.
Very special man. Let's go back to the Great Western Forum in Inglewood, California, and our Michael Kamen is with the NBA commissioner. Mike?
Jim, a very, very special man, a very special basketball player. Commissioner David Stern came to Los Angeles today for this shocking announcement. Commissioner, we kind of have an idea of what Magic Johnson meant to the NBA. What does the loss of Magic Johnson mean?
Well, one of the greatest players ever to play the game won't be playing it anymore. It's been his decade. But even in this very sad announcement, as extraordinary as he is, he's put the positive gloss on the things he wants to do because he has tested positive and he wants to spend his time talking to kids, telling them that you can't pretend that this is something that isn't going to happen to you. But less on a basketball and more on a personal basis. This is a very sad day.
Well, that's what I was going to say. He was such a special basketball player, but he was so much more than that. As an ambassador of basketball, you just saw what the crowds that he attracted in France.
Well, he is and will continue to be that. And it's our sense, although we're not expert in these matters, although we're going to learn a lot more now than we ever thought we would need to know, that the emotional surge that the entire NBA family is going to experience in getting behind Magic and his efforts, both to talk and to fight this thing itself, is going to be important, and we're with him.
One thing that impressed me in this press conference with hundreds of members of the media here, he was probably the most upbeat guy in the room.
It's just more extraordinary Magic.
Talk about the personal side for you. You and Magic Johnson are very close friends.
I've never been commissioner without him, and there's just been nobody who has been willing to do for all of basketball, for media, for kids, for fans, any more than Magic has been willing to do, with good humor and patience and that twinkle in his eye. And it's extraordinary even today to see him here making this terribly sad announcement, telling the assembled media not to worry. And I just hope that kind of attitude is going to see him through some very potentially difficult times.
All right, thank you, Commissioner David Stern, who was in Los Angeles today for Magic Johnson's retirement announcement. We'll miss him as a basketball player, but as he told all of us, don't get the idea that we're going to miss him because he's going to be around. Jim?
Michael, thank you. Of course, the NBA does now begin to dust itself off, clear its collective head, and respond to the sadness. Former Lakers coach Pat Riley, who coached Magic for so many years, held a press conference in New York minutes ago. Others far and wide are offering their thoughts on him.
It's one of disbelief and shock, and you know, we've all heard about the disease and the impact of it, and you know, it's just unbelievable.
I spent some time with him in the summertime at home, and I was coaching in his 3-on-3 tournament over in Hawaii this summer, and you know, got to be that was a big big thrill for me, and to hear something like what I heard today, so it's going to take a big toll.
Puts a lot of things in perspective. I think you all of a sudden you start feeling, bad that your ankle hurts a little bit and stuff. It's really a tragedy. I mean, the guy is not only guy's not only been such a great player, but he's been such a great ambassador for the game and everything else. It's just my heart goes out to him. I think all you can do now is just pray that he handles everything in the best way they can.
We all do that. The reigning NBA most valuable player, Michael Jordan of the Chicago Bulls, was reached at his home in Chicago today. To quote him, "I was shocked when I heard about it. I can't believe it. I have to have some time to think about it." We all do that. We will continue throughout the evening here on CNN to document this story. And, of course, as always, wrap it all up for you on CNN Sports Tonight at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. And The World Today will continue right after this.
Yes, I said, I am now retired. Yes, I ran my own business. No, I said, I do not need your advice about insurance. Yes, and this really got him. I am insured by the very same people who protected my drapery store perfectly for 28 years. Mildred, you've certainly heard of the Hartford. No, I said, I will not keep your brochure.
ITT Hartford. When you need us most, we're at our best.
Hello?
Hello, Jamie. How are you?
How you doing, buddy?
How'd you like the new music?
Great. Really great.
Well, where are the words?
How about checking your fax machine? You're gonna love it. It's in your favorite key.
Hey.
This feeling's just like magic, day by day.
Dex Facsimile, one of a wide range of business communication solutions from Fujitsu, the global computer and communications company.
Do you have a cold?
Yes, I do. It feels like the ocean is in my head.
Here's 2 cold medicines. This relieves these 3 symptoms, this 9. Choose one.
9. I have all of those symptoms. Sinus pain, nasal congestion, and I have a scratchy throat.
Here's what you chose. Are you shocked?
Yeah, I am.
Would you try Dristan Cold? How do you feel?
The Dristan really works.
Dristan Cold relieves 9 tough cold symptoms. Dristan Cold, part of the Dristan family of products. Dristan, the face of relief today.
An interesting thing is happening to driving enthusiasts. They're multiplying, and that's a blessed event for the Saab 9000 Turbo, which not only does 0 to 60 faster than a BMW 535i, but has more passenger and cargo space than any other imported sedan. The Saab 9000 Turbo, the sports sedan you grow into, not out of.
Continuing on now with more of the day's news. With the off-year elections just finished and the presidential election a year away, a familiar refrain is being sung by many elected officials these days. We must do more to help the middle class, goes the chorus. Thursday, the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, Illinois Democrat Dan Rostenkowski, proposed a temporary tax cut aimed right at the middle class. Under the proposal, middle-income workers would get up to $200 in tax cuts a year, but only in 1992 and 93. The tax cuts would be balanced by higher taxes for wealthier Americans.
It gets the job done. If you're a middle-income American, you get a tax cut. If you're in the top 1%, you get a tax increase. No bells, no whistles, no untested economic theories or gambles. What you see is what you get.
A Senate tax cut was formally proposed by Senator Lloyd Bentsen on Wednesday. Meanwhile, another indication of tough economic times. The U.S. Labor Department says 420,000 Americans filed first-time claims for unemployment benefits during the week ending October 26th. That's 14,000 more people than filed the week before. Analysts caution, however, against reading too much into this surge. They note that new claims numbers can be extremely volatile from week to week. A consumer group charges U.S. banks are ripping off credit card customers by charging interest rates that sometimes top the 20% mark. This at a time when the amount a consumer can earn from a savings account or a bank CD is sliding right into the cellar. The situation and possible solutions from CNN's John Holloman.
Dave Markowski is making his last purchase with a bank credit card. He says he's fed up.
The interest rate's down around 8 and 10%, and the Fed down so low, there's no cause for these things to be up around 18 and 21%.
The Consumer Federation of America says the gap is growing between the interest rate banks charge for using their credit card and the interest rate someone can currently earn in a bank account.
Banks are unwilling to pass on all the savings from declining Federal Reserve rates and declining savings rates. They understand that for each percentage point of difference, they make $1 billion just on credit cards alone.
The banks say the cost of doing business is high. Therefore, they have to charge more to people who are at greater credit risk.
Delinquencies up 30%, bankruptcies up at record levels, other costs, telecommunications, labor, all of them up. There's not that much room to move the rate down.
The consensus is if the interest rate you're paying on your credit card or any other consumer loan is too high, you should shop around. Somebody probably has a lower rate. It's possible to find a bank card that charges only 10.5% interest if you qualify, and it's simple to switch from your current card to the new one.
A consumer who has a 19.8% interest rate card and has a $1,600 balance can save up to $135 a year by switching to a low interest rate card.
But consumer advocates say the first bit of advice they give to credit card holders is to pay the balance in full every month. Only about a third of all bank card users do that, and they pay no interest charges at all. John Holloman, CNN, Washington.
Actress Jean Tierney, best known for her performance in the film Laura, is dead of emphysema in Houston. She was 70 years old. Tierney starred in 35 films, including The Ghost and Mrs. Muir, Heaven Can Wait, and The Razor's Edge. She was nominated for an Oscar for her performance in the 1945 film Leave Her to Heaven. Famed for her striking beauty, Tierney suffered a string of personal tragedies, including a bout with mental illness in the mid-1950s.
You can't understand that, can you? I suppose you think...
My daddy loves me so much, he bought me a baseball glove. My daddy loved me so much, he bought me a baseball glove and a video game. My daddy loves me so much, he bought me a baseball glove and 3 video games. My daddy loves me so much, he bought a Volvo.
The Sony Trinitron XBR television. Simply brilliant.
We're about to prove a point. On the right, a pie wrapped in saran wrap. On the left, Reynolds and Glad. Knowing the bear won't eat what he can't smell, which one holds an odor and freshness better? Saran wrap. Nothing protects food better.
Oh, Betty.
You're like cake, and you're like frosting too. 94% fat-free. They belong together naturally. Sweet talker, Betty Crocker.
There's good news for those of you who've been staying up late to watch the late news. Headline News has the latest news, business, and sports around the clock.
In the Philippines this day, authorities are frantically trying to care for survivors and bury the dead following Tuesday's tropical storm that killed more than 3,000 people. Officials expect that number to rise when 2,000 missing persons are accounted for. The island of Leyte was hardest hit, along with neighboring Negros. Authorities say massive landslides that engulfed hundreds of homes in minutes could have been caused by a lack of vegetation in the area due to illegal logging. And now news from these other datelines in our world today. Madrid, the body of media mogul Robert Maxwell is released to his family, while Spanish authorities attribute his death to a massive heart attack. His family reportedly is checking into the possibility of foul play. Maxwell will be buried in Jerusalem on Sunday. Sarasota, Florida, actor Paul Reubens, better known as Pee Wee Herman, pleads no contest to indecent exposure charges. Part of his plea bargain deal, production of an anti-drug public service ad. Oakland, California, firefighters battle and swiftly control a pair of brush fires. The blazes occurred around the area devastated by that fire on October 20th. Omaha, Nebraska, the world's first artificially conceived Siberian tiger has been born at the Henry Doorly Zoo. No word yet on the sex of the cub, but mama and offspring seem to be doing just fine. And from our four-star general interest file, Norman Schwarzkopf storms to the top of the spot, or the top spot rather, on the list of the world's best-looking lips. Blistex Incorporated, which makes lip care products, announced the achievement. Well, there you go. Statistics show the number of children reportedly suffering abuse and neglect is growing. The National Committee for Prevention of Child Abuse says 2.5 million cases were reported in the U.S. in 1990 alone. In the first of a series of reports, CNN science correspondent Mark Levinson looks at a computer program designed to help caseworkers handle the load.
School's out for the day, and these children are happy to be heading home. But for some children, life at home has a dark side, a side that's anything but happy or carefree. It's a side Chuck Philibek deals with every day. Philibek is a children's protection services specialist for Michigan's Department of Social Services. It's his job to help children suffering from abuse and neglect. Some cases are forever etched in his memory.
This child had bruises from his toes on up into his skull, covered with bruises, different age bruises from 10 days to just that day. We thought his jaw was broken because it was so swollen and purple. Kid was severely abused.
In Michigan's Berrien County, they're trying a unique software designed by and for caseworkers. The child protection system was developed by Bull HN Information Systems. It helps caseworkers to cut through the paperwork and improve case management.
So your decisions are better made because of the extra information that you have available.
Information like previous reports showing a pattern of abuse or neglect involving the same child or family. Cases are cross-referenced so social workers can search their files by name, address, or case number. Each file traces a case from the initial call alleging abuse or neglect to its latest status. The software is designed so caseworkers can constantly update files and monitor what's happening. The software functions as both a database and a word processor. That means a record of court proceedings like this one can be included in a family's case history.
I make these findings by a preponderance of the evidence. The court will take jurisdiction over these children.
It was her cocaine addiction that cost Rhonda Richardson custody of her 4 children. Now she's in a drug rehab program. Using the new software system, Philibek can keep a record of the agencies helping with her counseling, her attendance, and the results of her drug tests.
You think you got it licked?
I think I got it licked this time. I hope I got it licked.
In our next report, we'll see how the software contributes to a teamwork approach and how a nationwide system could prevent many abuse and neglect cases from going undetected. Mark Levinson, CNN, Benton Harbor, Michigan.
Science and Technology Today is brought to you by the people at AT&T. AT&T, the right choice.
At America's finest hotels, you get such exceptional service, you hardly have to lift a finger. So it's no surprise that so many fine hotels choose AT&T. They know you depend on the quality and services of AT&T to perform at your best. Though admittedly, to appreciate our service, you do have to lift a finger. How can we help you?
On CNN tonight, does it violate separation of church and state? Prayer in public school in the crossfire. Then later, author Norman Mailer and actor Robert Stack visit Larry King. All tonight on CNN.
Mom, are they ready yet? I'm still working on it.
Rice Krispies treats are so easy to make, they take no time at all.
These things take time.
But they taste so good. Your family will think you slaved over them all afternoon. And if that's what they think, well, what they don't know won't hurt them. Rice Krispies treats. Honey?
Mom,
you shouldn't have knocked yourself out.
Campbell's heard your healthy request.
Low cholesterol.
Less salt.
But lots of taste.
Here's our answer. New Campbell's Healthy Request ready-to-serve soups. All the great taste you want without some things you don't. New Campbell's Healthy Request. And healthy.
We're about to prove a point. On the right, a pie wrapped in saran wrap. On the left, Reynolds and Glad. Knowing a bear won't eat what he can't smell, which one holds an odor and freshness better? Saran wrap. Nothing protects food better.
And recapping our top story, LA Lakers star Magic Johnson is ending his 12-year professional basketball career after testing positive for the virus that causes AIDS. His doctors stressed that Johnson is infected with the HIV virus but does not have AIDS. The basketball great announced his retirement just a short time ago from the arena where he led his team to 5 NBA championships, the Forum. Johnson, characteristically upbeat, told the news conference he'll miss the basketball court, but stressed that his life will go on.
It's another challenge, another chapter in my life that it's like being, your back is against the wall. And I think that you just have to come out swinging, and I'm swinging. Only thing I can do is have a bright side. If I slip, then it might be over. If I'm down, if it's out, I can't be like that. I never have been. That's why I'm telling you now, today. That's why I'm here right now. And that's why I'm going to be a spokesman for the virus, because I want other players to be tested, because I think they should, because a lot of people, if it hadn't been for that life insurance, I wouldn't have known.
I'm going to deal with it, Johnson said, and my life will go on. Johnson was married in September to his longtime girlfriend. He says she's tested negative for the AIDS virus. The dazzling point guard leaves the game with a league record number of assists. And a reminder, a programming note, that CNN will have a special broadcast this evening. Highlights from that news conference and from Magic Johnson's career, as well as reaction to this development. That's at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, 0600 Greenwich Mean Time for our international viewers. That wraps up The World Today. For Catherine Cryer, I'm Frank Sesno in Washington. The day's business news is next on Moneyline, and Lou Dobbs joins us now with a look ahead. Lou?
Frank, thank you. Coming up on Moneyline, interest rates are low for banks but remain high for consumers. Their response, consumer borrowing dropping by $1.5 billion in September. We'll be telling you all about that and what we can all expect. And stocks remaining above 3,000, but some say that is dangerously high. TWA, an airline in trouble. We'll have an interview tonight with TWA Chairman and Chief Executive Officer Carl Icahn. Those stories, a lot more, coming up on Moneyline right after this local cable break.